Hello. Forgive my ignorance, but could you please explain what post-structuralism is?
Oh, I love that. Okay, I love that. Right. Well, it's simply a system that began with there are three big names, okay, of French theorists who kind of took over American academe in the 1970s and 80s, and it was Jacques Derrida, Jacques Lacan, and Michel Foucault, okay, and I was on a campaign against them in this whole style for a very long time, and I think we managed to get rid of Lacan and Derrida, thank God, but Foucault is very, very entrenched, okay. It's a long. I mean, you can. My first essay, my long expose of post-structuralism is called "Junk Bonds and Corporate Raiders." It's in my first essay collection, okay, which is Sex, Art, and American Culture, and I show, okay, and quote, from it, so you can see what it's like. But basically, it's a system of analyzing everything in the world, literature and history and everything, from the point of view of language alone. Okay, it's based on what to me is an outmoded linguistic system associated with Fernand Saussure. Okay, it's completely outmoded. Okay, and so what you're getting now in gender studies, everywhere in gender studies in college campuses, thanks to Judith Butler, okay, the post-structuralist, you're getting this idea that everything in gender is merely something that's been refracted through language. There's no biological substratum that defines gender in any way. We are blank slates at birth. We are inscribed by society's pressures. Okay, so it's basically a Rousseauist idea. It goes back to Rousseau. I mean, it's not worth even going into, except that it's absolutely epidemic everywhere, okay? And it's just, and I keep on repeating this, it's destroyed the humanities, absolutely destroyed, okay? There is absolutely no room for appreciation, celebration of art, okay? Psychology, there's no psychology left, anywhere, okay? There's not even a sense of history, okay? Because despite what all the post-structuralists think, Foucault was absolutely ignorant about history. He knew nothing about anything before the Enlightenment, just like Susan Sontag, okay? The two of them should have been like happy, gone together hand in hand, okay, into the sunset. Okay, oh, sorry, okay, I didn't mean, there probably are Sontag admirers here, sorry, okay. All right, but, all right. And there's no way to explain exactly why people, were so credulous about Foucault, except that they're not going to be interested in this. All right, the old new criticism that was in place when I was in college focused exclusively on the internal qualities of literary works. Okay. And there's no doubt that late new criticism, which was going on when I was in college, had become much too narrow, okay, and did not allow for psychological exploration or historical context. So definitely those two things should have been added to the new criticism. Instead, what came into the vacuum was this, okay, which actually it only works. Post-structuralism only works on narrative. It only works on the novel, if it works at all, which I say it does not. Okay, it's all about narrative. Well, therefore, post-structuralism can do nothing with poetry. Nothing. Can't do a single thing with a poem. Can't do a single thing with an artwork. So at one point, Foucault quotes has a Velázquez painting. So every post-structuralist person mentions this one painting. Oh, please. Okay. Again, he knew nothing about the arts. So to me, it's completely valueless as a system, but it's absolutely compulsory. Post-structuralism, if you expect to rise in America, in American academe today in the humanities, absolutely compulsory. Okay? And I am so lucky to be teaching at the art schools where we are free of that plague, completely free of it. Now and then, a young faculty member will arrive, okay, and I go, oh no, here it comes, okay, and then they don't want to be at the University of the Arts because we deal with art. We don't deal with Foucault. We deal with art. We actually deal with with performance, with music, with the real material world, crafts and fibers and metals and all those things that Foucault can explain, okay, because it's all about language. All right, so then they all leave and they drift across the river and they end up at the Annenberg or at Penn. Haha. All right, so let them all cluster there, I say. Okay, sorry.
Dr. Paglia, you're one of my favorite authors. You may be glad or sorry to know that right next to you in my bookshelf with my various Bibles, which I like above, and Moby Dicks below, is Foucault.
Oh, you're an admirer. Are you an admirer of Foucault?
I am, to be a contrarian to the contrarian.
Do you read him in French or English?
Only English, I'm
Oh, all
afraid.
right,
I'm
okay.
not that erudite yet.
All right.
So the validity that I get from Foucault is that I see the rise of various institutions, prisons,
Miss Eck.
hospitals, madness. I think that his way of analyzing it makes sense, even though it is based on language and not on some synthesis of the Apollonian and the Dionysian. I'd like you to comment on that.
Well, I pointed out in Junk Bonds and Corporators that the analysis of prisons, it's not something that Foucault invented, okay? That is, the system of prisons was already explored by Emile Durkheim, and that's one of my criticisms of him, okay, is that people who read Foucault believe that he is making these things up himself, and he isn't. I myself had already read Durkheim, okay, before I came to Foucault, and that's why I realized that this is like just a little fragment of Durkheim that's been spun out, okay? And the same thing, Irving Goffman, who's a huge influence on me, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, okay, very great American sociologist. It is Foucault's primary source that he also hid, okay? So in case after case after case, right, I would maintain, if I could speak to you long enough, okay, that the points that you think, that you like, that are coming from Foucault, actually he had stolen, okay, from elsewhere, okay? And forget Foucault and just go read Durkheim, etc., okay? That's what I feel. I mean, William Blake, for heaven's sake. William Blake, the great romantic poet, okay, an artist, okay, in his system, okay, he has the whole mental system, the conceptual framework of Foucault. Okay, all right. So to me, Foucault is a fraud. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Okay, I didn't mean to say that to you as an admirer. Okay, and I think it's simply that I had done so much research already and reading in sociology, before. Okay, which is why Foucault to me is insufficient. Okay.